Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Lewis. I'm the Director, Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization at the Department of Health and Human Services. As you know, we're conducting a series of training sessions for the acquisition personnel. Today's training is on the SBA HHS 8A Partnership Agreement. So I've asked the Director of the SBA 8A Business Development Office of Program Review, to come by and share with us the ins and outs of the 8A Partnership Agreement and to discuss some of the requirements under the 8A program. Sharon Gurley is going to provide us with the training. At the end, we will then conduct questions and answers. We did ask everyone to go to our HHS YouTube website to take a look at the previous webinar that was recorded by Sharon, because today Sharon's going to give a brief overview. It won't be as extensive as it was, but it will still give you some insight. If you did not get a chance to review the webinar before the training today, please make sure that you visit our YouTube website and just put in HHS OSDBU. All right, so without further ado, I'll turn it over to Sharon. Sharon, thank you for coming to HHS today.
Thank you, Teresa. Hi, my name is Sharon Gurley. I'm the Director of the Office of Program Review at SBA Office of Business Development. In this office, we actually monitor the performance, the background, the regulations of the 8A BD program. Today's subject is the partnership agreement. The purpose of the partnership agreement is to streamline contract execution between SBA and HHS. It's in accordance with the FAR and the CFR, Part 124. The history of the partnership agreement is back in 1997. SBA did an experiment with the Department of Transportation, and we entered into an MOU. That worked so well that in 1998, we increased that to 25 other agencies. Today, we have 46 executed partnership agreements with all federal agencies, DOD, Department of Transportation. A listing of all these sites is listed at the citation you see here, www.sba.gov/content/SBA agencies-executed partnership agreements. The current partnership agreement differs from the years past. These partnership agreements do not have an expiration date. However, we will amend the partnership agreement as needed for any regulations. Federal agencies are required to maintain compliance of the partnership agreement or risk losing their non-expiration partnership date. How does this work? The SBA and HHS share the responsibility of ensuring compliance of the partnership agreement. And we, as I said before, it's in accordance with the FAR, the CFR. SBA delegates its authority to sign contracts on its behalf and remains prime contractor on all 8A contract awards and should be cited as such. The PA provides for the award of contract awards, modifications, task orders, options, task orders, purchase orders, and the likes, all in accordance with FAR 19.8, CFR 124-508. The partnership agreement encompasses sole source and competitive procurements. The history of the foundation of the office. The establishment of the 8A BD program is under Section 7J and 8A of the Business Act, Small Business Act. And this is where the small business program is detailed. It provides various forms of assistance to foster business development and growth of small businesses who are owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. Such concerns can compete in the mainstream of American economy. What is the 8A BD program? The 8A BD program is the assistance to small disadvantaged businesses. The 8A program offers a broad scope of assistance to firms who own and control at least 51% have to be controlled by a socially, economically disadvantaged individual. They're presumed groups, and if you see here on the PowerPoint, there's a listing of the presumed groups. The SBA have benefits of the 8ABD program, and one is you can award a contract award to a current active 8A firm up to $4 million for goods and services and $6.5 million for manufacturing. 8A firms have the capability to form joint ventures to compete for larger procurements. Unlike the GSA schedule, we have no fees, and we assist the growth of socially and economically small businesses. The next couple of slides is going to discuss SBA's responsibility, and then after that it's going to discuss HHS responsibilities. SBA is responsible for reviewing all offering letters, issuing acceptance or rejection letters, and making eligibility determinations for contract awards. SBA shall review all joint ventures in advance. So if a firm has a joint venture, please make sure that they have a SBA approval. With the joint venture SBA approval from on the joint venture, that firm will be able to use the 8A authority to do the competition. Here's a chart here of summarizing all the different particulars of the 8ABD program and the procurement. For anything under SAP, it's $3 million to $150K. There's no offering or acceptance letter required. However, you must obtain an eligibility determination. What is that? Eligibility determination is basically just an email going to the contracting officer, going to the BOS, and asking that BOS if that firm is in good standing, and they'll send your response right back to you by email. It's not an offering letter, it's not formal, it doesn't take a long time, but you want to make sure if you're awarding a contract award to an 8A firm, you want to make sure that they're indeed an 8A firm in good standings. For sole source procurements between over 150K up to $4 million, you can make a direct award. So we ask that you send the offering letter to the designated district office, allow 5 working days for that district office to review that offering letter and respond back to you. On the 6th day, if that district office does not respond, you may go ahead and presume that that procurement is acceptable for a sole source, except for the limitations of FAR 19.808-1 for procurements over $20 million. Offering and acceptance is required for sole source procurements. Competitive acquisitions. Anything over the $4 million threshold and 6.5 for manufacturing, you must also offer that to the 8ABD program at the office in which the procurement is being sponsored from. So example, if you're doing a procurement and your contracting office is located in New Mexico, then you're sent it to the New Mexico district office. We ask that you allow 5 working days, and after 5 working days, you send it to the headquarters, and that we review that, and on the 11th day after sending it, on the 11th day, you can assume that it's approved. However, before you make final award on your competitive 8A awards, you do have to have another eligibility determination. Okay. Don't need that. Okay, again, I kind of briefly talked about sole source over $20 million. Well, as we all know, the only companies that can get awards over the $4 million thresholds are ANCs, NHOs, and tribal firms. So back in 2012, April 18th, 2012, it was effective in the FAR that you have to compete a J&A before you make any sole source procurements over $20 million. Again, the details of that is in FAR 19.808-1. There's a listing requirements. They basically get the head of the agency to sign off on your J&A. You have to publish the award information and everything. So please adhere to that. GAO has conducted several reviews on agencies to make sure that they're adhering to this principle. The procuring agencies must inform contracting officers and warrant officers of the 8A partnership agreement, which we are doing today. The partnership is, the agency must adhere to all the provisions of the partnership agreement, which is the 13 CFR Part 24 and FAR 19.8. The procuring agency shall determine which procurements are suitable for the 8ABD program and send their offering requests to the appropriate district office. Here's an example. The DC office has a designated mailbox for all offering letters, and that's DC offering letters at SBA.gov. Also, Baltimore, Maryland has one as well. There's MD offering letters at SBA.gov. We're trying to get all the other district offices to adhere and come up with the same idea. This way, your offering letters is in a designated area and it's not going to be overlooked. So if you ever have any problem, however, don't hesitate to call me or Melinda Edwards on my staff. I'll give you her information at the end of this presentation. Regardless, all procurements need eligibility determination. Procuring agencies are responsible for monitoring the 8A compliance of the limitation of subcontracting, FAR 52-219-14, for all contracts, modifications, task orders, and the likes. The provisions are noted here. The current subcontracting limitations is the 8A firm must do at least 51% for services, 15% for construction, and 25% for the others. If there was a JV, the 8A firm must do at least 40% of the work. Again, GAO is also monitoring this activity, so I would advise you all are our eyes and ears as far as the performance of contracts. You know when a firm is not doing or an active participant in a procurement. We want the integrity of the program to stand, so we ask you to raise your hand, call your BOS, do something. If you notice that firm is not, they're MIA and missing in action and not a part of that procurement, notify that small business office. Let them know, because we vet these firms annually, and we want them to be an upstanding firm for you, because it's all federal funds. So if you're not getting the supplies and services in which you want, that's going to impact all of us. So please don't hesitate to call someone if you think that 8A firm is not up to par with their subcontracting. For competitive 8A procurements, the contracting officer or warranted official must submit the offering letter to the district office for the geographical area. And I gave an example earlier, like when I said if your contracting office is in New Mexico, then you would contact the New Mexico district office for competitive procurements. The offering letter for construction, also similar. It should be the geographical area in which the performance of the contract is going to be let. So again, if the construction project is going to be in New Mexico, you want to contact the New Mexico district office. Procurement agencies shall make sure that SBA approval is obtained for all novation agreements, that we get a signed copy of all contract awards. Anytime you're using the 8ABD program authority, we must get a copy of that contract award, task order, option, or the likes. We ask that you notify SBA in advance for termination of convenience or default. We want you to ensure that you get SBA approval on any joint ventures. Execution of the contract. The agency contracting officer may make a direct award of contracts to 8A participants, but only after it has been offered and accepted by SBA, with the exception of acquisitions valued at or below the simplified acquisition threshold, where no offering acceptance is required. But again, eligibility determination is recommended and required. Contract execution should be in accordance with the FAR 19. Again, we remember, SBA is your prime contractor. The 8A firm is your subcontractor. Please make sure that you have the proper references in your contract award. As we all know, SAM is having some difficulties. If you want to verify whether a firm is an 8A contract or not, we suggest that you use a dynamic small business search. That doesn't overrule SAM, but we maintain that database, and we have all the 8A firms in that database. Okay, thresholds. If you want to do competition under the required threshold, you must get SBA's approval. As well as if you want to go over the sole source thresholds, you must obtain SBA approval. On both circumstances, you need to contact Arthur Collins at sba.gov. He would process your request. Repetition of procurements. A procuring agency must submit new offering letters where he or she intends to award a follow-on or a repetitive contract as an 8A contract. So if your 8A contract came to closure, you must re-offer that procurement to SBA. And as we know, too, once a procurement is in the 8ABD program, it remains in the 8ABD program. So the reason you're offering is just for the new vendor, but the requirement remains an 8A procurement. A lot of questions are being asked about basic ordering agreements and how does that work with the 8ABD program. The basic ordering agreement is not a contract, so it doesn't carry the provisions of making an award that takes you to closure. For example, if you award a firm fixed price contract to an 8A participant with a base year and 4 option years, that procurement remains 8A regardless of whether that 8A participant graduates or not. That does not apply to a BOA because that is not a contract. If you want a procurement to be released from the 8ABD program, you have to also contact Arthur.Collins at sba.gov. Contracts awarded to the 8A program contracts awarded to 8A firms outside the authority of the 8ABD program still counts as small disadvantaged procurements. You just can't use the authority. The only way you can use the authority of the 8ABD program is it has to be offered to the program. SBA reserves the right to suspend, rescind the authority of this partnership agreement if you fail to send offering letters, fail to wait for acceptance letters, fail to provide copies of contracts or other violations. Here is a listing of changes under the National Defense Authorization Act that I always bring to contracting officers' attention. Some of these are approved and some of these are not, but I like to try to keep people current with what's going on. So you can definitely review that. Also, for the Small Business Jobs Act, some things occurred that affect the program, and basically the use of small businesses overall. So I have that cited here as well. Good. Okay. No, we're good. Again, be mindful of the two main concerns for the 8ABD program, and that's subcontracting and awards to firms over $20 million. Here's a listing of my name and Melinda Edwards on my staff. We may not be the person who can answer your question, but you can contact us and we can point you to the person who can. Sometimes it's always having a familiar face or a person you know who you're calling to ask questions. And no question is silly as far as we're concerned. We'll try our best to accommodate your questions. And I'm going to turn this over to Teresa.
Sharon, thank you. That was very informative. So now we're going to open up the floor for Q&A. Now, I do want to ask you one question. I saw on your slide where the basic ordering agreement is not a contract, but does the for the orders, do the contracting officers have to do order and acceptance for the task orders under a basic ordering agreement?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do. And anytime they want to do an option, because again, it doesn't carry the regular provision of the regular normal contract. So you can't exercise the option without going back and offering accept it.
Okay.
So you have to keep on getting an approval for each action.
Okay.
Under a BOA.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. So joining us also is, and she'll be reading our questions for us, is Melinda Edwards from Sharon Gurley's office. Melinda?
Okay. The first question was asked, are CLPs earned for this training?
The answer is yes. 1.5 CLPs will be granted for this training today.
And they would like to receive copies. The next question is, how do we receive copies of the slides?
Copies of the presentation. We will forward copies of the presentation to all of your ACMs to make sure that and they will send it out to you.
Okay. To confirm what was stated, any contract above the SAP with options awarded to an 8A must have the contract as well as modifications signed by the 8A contractor.
Yes. All modifications should be signed by the 8A contractor. Unless it's a unilateral mod, of course.
Okay. Well, no further questions. Let me see.
Okay. So, were there any other questions?
It looks like that's it. Maybe we can wait around for another couple minutes.
Okay. Okay, so right now we're waiting to see if any other questions come in. Sharon, it looks like you've done a fantastic job and clarified a lot of things. So usually I find when we do these training sessions that when we don't get a lot of questions, it's because everything has been made clear. And the 8A program is a program that is very highly used here at the Department of Health and Human Services. So, I have not received a lot of questions regarding the 8A program. I typically get a question regarding where do I send the offer letter, and I think you clarified that regarding the Washington Metropolitan Area District Office, which is the office that supports us. Can you tell them again what's that email address?
It's DC offer letters at SBA.gov.
DC offer letters with an S.
Yes, at SBA.gov.
At SBA.gov. Very good. Thank you, Melinda.
Question.
Okay, very good.
My question points to non-performance on 8A contracts, specifically 8A stars and a general 8A sole source contract. When does the contract specialist contact the SBA to inform them of the issues, and is a cure notice the first action to take?
I say that you contract that BOS before the cure notice. I have past to as a contracting officer, and you know when that contract is in trouble. So reach out immediately to the BOS because they can highlight that problem. They can bring that 8A participant to their office, and they can even bring it to your office if need be, and try to mediate the problem. Because sometimes small problems can turn to big problems when they're not attended to immediately. So please reach out to the BOS immediately. And if at any time you have a concern and you're not getting the responses from a BOS that you want, because I know as a contracting officer, you want a decision right away. So again, you can reach out to me. We will find out that BOS and bring it to their attention and make sure it's in front of them and address your concerns.
And Sharon, to add, I typically find that a lot of times the problem is the lack of communication. And I think that that's very critical. And if that contracting officer needs assistance, there is a small business specialist that can also assist them with contacting the Washington Metropolitan Area District Office at SBA. And Sharon is absolutely correct. We want to resolve the problem early in the process before a cure notice has to be issued. All right, Melinda, next question.
Please summarize what dollar thresholds do not require an authorized letter and when the eligibility letter is required.
Okay. All right. I like the chart that I have in the PowerPoint, and when you get this, if you keep any part of this presentation, keep that chart. That chart, as far as I'm concerned, kind of summarize everything as far as the limitations for the 8ABD program. And that chart is this chart here, the requirements chart. The requirements chart. And again, for SAP, but we know anything under 3K is unrestricted, so you can go and make an award to whomever you wish. But from 3K to 150K under SAP, you do not have to do an offering and acceptance letter, but it is recommended and required to do an eligibility determination. And all I'm saying is this simple email, because that means you're going to do a direct award to an 8A participant. That 8A participant knows who their BOS is. Ask them who their BOS is, do a quick email to them. SBA, the way we do our email is usually our first name dot our last name at sba.gov. So just shoot an email to that person and say, is XYZ compliant in the 8ABD program? And they're going to say yes. And then you go and make your award. That's your eligibility determination, because as I said, we vet these firms annually. So we know whether they're in good standings or not. So I'm just asking you to make sure you just do that simple email for SAP. As I said, shouldn't take you no more than a day. Nothing bad about it. For sole source procurements, however, up to $4 million for supplies and services and $6.5 for manufacturing, you do have to do an offering acceptance letter. And a lot of agencies get that confused, because when we say you don't have to do one for SAP, they think that means for the other procurements as well. You do have to do an offering acceptance for a sole source procurement. You do have to do an offering acceptance for a competitive procurement.
Okay, very good.
Next question. I did not register for today's course, but I connected to it. Will this lack of registering create a problem from getting the CLPs?
No, it will not create a problem, but please email linda.waters@hhs.gov and provide her your name so that we can ensure that you get your certificate and proof of training participation. Not a problem. Okay?
And one other thing, if you can address the power, how they gonna get the PowerPoint slides again?
Yes, so again, we will provide your ACMs with a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, and we will also provide them with a copy of their certificates. All right. So, Melinda, any other questions?
Yes, I have another one. Should an 8A contractor's option year on a contract not be exercised for no documented reason, and then a contract awarded be to another 8A contractor? That's a little confusing.
Okay, I think I kind of understand what the person is asking. They're asking, can they have the flexibility of not exercising an option year and make an award to another firm?
Another
Well,
8A firm.
Another 8A firm, right. And if you have reasons not to exercise the option, I remember FAR allows you the discretion not to exercise the option. So if you have a reason that you don't want to exercise the option, and please, it needs to be some reason, because it's going to come back. That old firm is going to ask you why you didn't do it, especially when they find out that you went to another firm. But if you have a reason, you can definitely not exercise that option.
But Sharon, in this case, they're saying, what if they don't have a reason? What if they just decide, hey, I don't like working with that company? Can the contracting officer just exercise their right not to exercise the option?
Yes, it's just like any other contract.
Yeah.
Remember, the 8ABD program is a certified program, but all the rules and regulations for the FAR is there.
Still
so
apply.
nothing is different really, because you're using an 8A participant. If you're awarding to a large firm, if you're awarding to a exercise the option for a small firm, there's nothing different. Whatever is allowed there is certainly allowed with the 8ABD program.
But it's good for the contracting officers to document, even though they're saying there's not a reason, there really is always a reason why you don't want to continue to work with that company. So it's good for the contracting officer to at least document that, so in case that current contractor comes back with some questions. So you agree?
I agree 100%.
Okay. All right. Melinda?
To follow on, it said, if I decided not to exercise option year with current 8A firm with a reason, do I have to send a letter to small business representative?
No, I would say no. Now, I think Teresa thinks differently.
No, I just think that if you're not, I think it's always good to communicate with that BOS, with SBA. I think it results in fewer problems for the contracting officer. And the one thing that we don't want to have happen is for the SBA PCR to step in and stop a procurement because they were never made aware that you're choosing to go forward with a different contractor. So I just think to make life easier for you, the contracting officer, it is better for you to notify the PCR at a minimum, and also the BOS, so that then we can ensure that you as the contracting officer are also meeting the compliance of the FAR as well as the CFR that says before you can take a procurement out of the 8A program, you must first get SBA approval. This will ensure, again, that your procurement is not stopped because you chose not to communicate with the Small Business Administration. So it helps you out if you do that.
Okay.
All right, Melinda?
After submitting the 8A offering letter, is an HHS 653 still required to the SBA officer?
So is a small business review still required? Yes, the small business review is still required, but because you're choosing to set it aside to a small business, in this case the 8A, the review stops at the small business specialist. It does not have to go to the PCR. But yes, a small business review is still required.
Okay. And what is Linda Waters' email again?
Linda Waters, Linda, LINDA .Waters, WATERS at HHS.gov. Okay?
No further ones at this time.
So, all right. Well, Melinda has exhausted all of our questions today. If you have additional questions, Sharon has provided her and Melinda's contact information, as well as Art Collins at the SBA, who's responsible for the Office of Management and Technical Assistance, as well as you have your respective small business specialist who's available. And the OSBU office is always here to assist you. If you have additional questions, please let one of us know, and we will do our due diligence to respond. I thank everyone for participating today. Most importantly, I want to thank Sharon Gurley and Melinda Edwards for joining us at HHS today. Have a good day.
Thank you.